This is the Real Change Wilmington podcast, episode 66. Denise Stryker passes homeless shelter leadership to Amber Taylor, with our guests today, Denise Stryker and Amber Taylor.
The challenge for me has always been knowing that just because this is what I want for them, everything to be perfect and them to make all of these changes, that might not be where they're at. And so meeting people where they are was the biggest challenge for me then, and still, to this day, I struggled with.
What is going on, everyone? This is your host of the Real Change Wilmington podcast, Dustin Pierce. Real Change is a positive, constructive, and lighthearted source of local news events and resources. On our podcast, we interview leaders of local organizations to help squash rumors and encourage a greater sense of pride in our community. We are super honored today to have Denise Stryker, who served for 30 years as the director of the Clinton County Homeless Shelter, come back after 2 months of retirement to talk with us and to introduce the new director of the Clinton County Homeless Shelter, Amber Taylor, who has served with Denise for the past 18 years as the assistant director. And when Denise retired, the board chose Amber to replace her as the new director. So this is a great podcast to get a little bit of background on Denise's 30 years experience and how homelessness has changed in Clinton County during that time, and to get to know a little bit about Amber and her experience and what she brings to the homeless shelter, what the homeless shelter offers, and what their current challenges are, and what they're looking forward to in the future. On this podcast, we do talk a little bit about what is going on currently in the community, especially at city council and public forums on homelessness, and get Denise's and Amber's responses to those things. One of the quotes that I love most from the podcast is when Amber talks about some of the photos that are posted online of different people who seem to be homeless. And if people just did 2 more seconds of work to see who these people are, they would realize that some of these people have caseworkers and are getting help. So definitely this is an interesting podcast to tune into. And I know that I have tried some different things in the past to help the issue of homelessness in our community. That's part of why Real Change Wilmington exists for, if you did not know. So I come from a very curmudgeon-y conservative background. And when I saw the panhandling at Kroger's, I wanted to do something that both addressed the problem in a way that helped people who were in need, but also helped our community not get taken advantage of, which is where Real Change came in and is trying to offer resources to both parties to be educated and to be empowered. But even with my best intentions, I am not dealing with homelessness like Amber and Denise are on a day-to-day basis. And so it's really good to hear from professionals on what the issues are and ways that we can best help. So without further ado, let's bring in our guests, Denise and Amber, and get this episode started. All right. So Denise Stryker and Amber Taylor, welcome to the Real Change podcast.
Thank you.
We've had Denise on before, but thanks for coming back.
Thanks for inviting me.
So we're going to talk about your guys' roles at the homeless shelter and homelessness in general. But before we get into that, let's just talk about you guys. So Denise, where are you from? How'd you get to Wilmington?
Well, I was born at Clinton Memorial Hospital and have always lived in Wilmington area. I lived here on Mulberry Street in Wilmington until I was 10. Then we moved out to a farm in Port William, a little village out there, about a mile outside of Port William, Ohio, where my mom and dad both grew up, and grew up on a farm from 10 on, and with my mom and dad and my sister and brother.
What did you guys farm?
Well, my dad had crops. He rotated corn and soybeans. I was involved in 4-H and FFA, so I always had hogs and sheep that I took through the fair every summer here at the Clinton County Fair. And my parents made sure we were all involved in things like FFA and 4-H and Girl Scouts, and just a very strong family. We had birthday parties with cousins, aunts, uncles. Very fortunate to have both sets of grandparents that lived close by, both within 3 miles of where we grew up, and were very active in our lives and everything we did.
Did you ever move away from Wilmington anytime?
I did not. I've always lived right here in Clinton County and very proud to be
Mm-hmm.
a Clinton Countyan.
And are you married? Do you have kids?
I am not married. I do have a significant other. I live alone, but Gary has been the love of my life
Mm-hmm.
and spent a lot of time with him. And then my daughter, have one daughter and one grandson. My grandson's 7 years old and goes to Sabine Elementary. And my daughter's a nurse and works 12-hour night shifts. So I get to spend a lot more time with them now that I'm retired and have a lot of fun.
Nice. I think I met Gary at the Corn Festival a year or two ago, maybe.
Yes.
Very cool. So you're retired now. What are some of your hobbies in retirement?
Wow. Well, I love just spending time with family. I love to swim. We did take, it was on my bucket list to take a cruise someday. So I've been fortunate to take a 3-day cruise here in January and had a really good time. It had been a while since I'd been on a vacation where I was in the sunshine. So I really enjoyed that 3-day trip, and swimming is one of my hobbies. I just love to swim. So going to be looking into some more opportunities to be able to do that in this type of weather, but spending time with family. And I was recently invited to join the One Mission team, so I'm excited to be part of that. And I want to just continue helping in any ways I can here in the community.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you for continuing to serve after retirement.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
And then last question is, what's a defining moment of your life that's helped make you who you are or shape your values and personality? You're a very kind person. So how did you get that way?
Yeah, well, thank you. Not always, but thank you. No, I think just having my parents, my mom and I talked every day. She was someone that she missed her calling by not becoming a counselor. I've after we lost my mom in 2012, I heard from many friends that I didn't even realize that they would call and talk to her every day. And she just had a way of putting everything in perspective. And she listened and always gave the best advice. And so when she knew she had cancer and didn't have much time, and one of the last things she said to me is, now remember, you can tell your dad anything and you can talk to him, because it was always Mom we went to. And I took her advice and started calling my dad every day and saying, hey, what about this? I would run things off of him, bounce things up that I used to share with my mom. And I found out she was right. I could share anything with my dad, and we were always close, but became even closer. We were blessed to have him another 10 years after we lost Mom. And so I miss them both daily. We lost Dad in August of 22. And so they just were, for all three of us siblings, we had a really good upbringing, very good parents. And I think that instilled a lot of the values I have. We were active in our local church and just very strong family unit.
I was seeing you interact with people at the soup fundraisers and stuff.
Yeah.
You're very kind and personable.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. That means a lot. And I much appreciate it.
So, Amber, let's talk about you. It's always nerve-wracking to go second. I feel like you're just sitting all the time thinking, what am I going to say?
Yeah, I don't have that great history yet.
I'm sure you have some. So where are you from and how'd you get to Wilmington?
So I am originally my family is a mixed family of being Clinton County and being Ross County. So I am originally born here at Clinton Memorial, but my mom and dad at the time lived in Fruitdale, which is just outside of Greenfield. In a blink of an eye, you're through it. So, but then my mom divorced my father, which brought us back here to Clinton County, and that's where I've been at my whole life. So I don't have anywhere else I've been hiding at. Other than I had to get out of Wilmington, but I'm in New Vienna, so okay. I'm still in Clinton County.
Nice. And then are you married and do you have kids?
Yes, yeah. Me and my husband have been together. It'll be 24 years on June 30th, and we have 4 amazing children. So we have one daughter. She'll be 23. Our oldest boy just turned 19, and my other boy he's 14. He'll be 15. And then I have a 13-year-old this Sunday. So
This Sunday.
yeah.
Wow.
And my oldest children only have grandpuppies right now for me, and I'm ecstatic with that, and we can stay with grandpuppies. So
Yeah. Is your oldest daughter, is she still in Clinton County?
yes, yeah.
Okay.
Actually, my children have not left the nest yet, so
Oh, okay.
I made it too comfortable, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it took me a while too.
Yeah. So but I'm enjoying it because one day I will be an empty nester and I'll miss it off. So right now I'm enjoying all of it.
Yeah, my oldest brother just turned 20 something and he bought a house this week.
Oh wow.
So my dad's going to be empty nester finally.
Oh wow. That's
yeah,
exciting.
he's kind of sad about it. But
That's exciting though.
yeah. And what are some of your hobbies?
Honestly, being with my family, making memories, taking trips, taking hikes, them laughing at what I consider my Greenfield talk, things that never left me. I consider my dad's side of the family hillbillies. I mean, we're rednecks, so I mean, sometimes y'all or something might just slip out, and it's not a mistake half the time. It's just how I am.
Yeah.
One of my other favorite things, and I think it just brings me back to happy moments in my childhood, is smelling cow manure. Like when I am stressed out at the end of the world, like you can take me off of a highway, we can go past the pasture, and I can smell it and I will come back down. And I really do believe that is just because of my childhood. And it was, my grandpa had his farming and there was pigs, and grandma would go out back and grab a chicken and pop its head off and pluck it, and we'd go and have dinner. So I think it's just the things that I found, as a child that just stay with you, that bring you happiness, that make me happy still to this day. So those are my calming pieces. And that's when I told my husband 4 years after we had been together, you better take me back. So we left Wilmington, but we went to New Vienna. So I have a mixture.
Do you have any animals out there besides the dogs?
I have 2 rabbits and 4 dogs that live at my house. So, yeah, we have plenty.
Yeah. So what are some other, you said Greenville-isms besides y'all?
Oh, gosh. Like, do you wash or do you wash?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Gosh, you really don't want me to talk like
That's okay. My
like,
grandma said,
if I say that I'm going to go get my hair did, and my daughter's like, you cannot use that grammar. So, I'm like, Lexi, you've been around me for 23 years of your life now, honey, and your mom don't change.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
But it's quirky things because then I find them doing or saying something, and I'm like, oh, there comes Greenfield out in you. So, because that's my dad, most of his life has been from Greenfield. That's where most of my relatives on his side of the family all still reside, except for the ones that went to Virginia. So I just jokingly say with the children all the time, you got Greenfield in you too. So.
I will say y'all proudly.
Yeah,
my Cincinnati-ish roots. I don't care. What's a defining moment of your life that's helped make you who you are or shape your values and personality?
Oh, gosh. I don't speak of my past much, but I would say that my own rough spots in life gave me a brighter outlook of life and made me and shaped me into who I am today. And why I feel that, my heart is definitely into what I do every day, and my reward will always be higher than any pay could ever, So I believe that's my spot. I had my family's support. I've always had my family's support. I mean, they'll go through their stuff and be like, Mom, take this to the shelter, even when they were younger. So, it's continued to shape me, and I just can't give up on it.
Yeah. Did it make you more compassionate and stronger?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I could stand on a pedestal all day.
What?
Staying on a pedestal about things that are happening or, like give my opinion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But my passion is
Like speak up for people, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they're broken.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have that backbone yet. So
Yeah.
they need us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So let's transition into talk about the homeless shelter. Denise, we did a podcast a year ago or so, in depth about the homeless shelter. But can you just give us an overview of how it got started in Clinton County?
Sure. It was before my time, actually, but back in 1980, the mid-'80s, City Council were seeing a lot of people who were homeless, had nowhere to go. Churches and I think even the city was helping to put people in hotels briefly, just a Band-Aid for a few days. And then they were finding out that they needed a better solution because it wasn't feasible to put someone in a hotel, and it took too long to get permanent housing for them to be able to continue that. So Linda Eichelberger with the city of Wilmington, she worked for Mayor Nick Evelyn at the time, started meeting with the local churches and just concerned citizens and city council, and they started talking about opening a homeless shelter. And so in November of 1988, first shelter opened in a rural area in Ohio, and the Clinton County Services for the Homeless was that first shelter in a rural area. They had worked with this team of people who gathered and met and talked about the issue, had met with C.C. Ross was her name. And I remember got to meet her because she was still very active with the Coalition on Homelessness back in the mid-'80s. And she came to town and they worked on a grant. And one of our local businesses helped provide a house, and that house there at 36 Gallup Street. And so the doors opened right around Thanksgiving time of 1988.
So you're saying that the Clinton County homeless shelter was one of the first rural?
I was always informed it was the first one. I have not done research to confirm that, but I was under the understanding. I'm pretty sure that we were the first homeless shelter under the state. We are funded by state funding and federal funding. So under, receiving funding and under working with the state of Ohio and the Ohio Development of Services Department. Yes.
And how did you first get connected with the homeless shelter?
Well, back in, I was not a single mom, I'm sorry. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And I'd been really looking for ways, a way to find employment. I'd been experiencing a depression, actually, because I was going through a real hard time. I found out I had thyroid problems, which was causing a lot of the depression. And I was getting treatment for that, but I just knew, I needed to work outside the house. I'd been home and my daughter was 14. My husband was working 2 jobs, and I knew I needed to bring some money into the home. And so I can still see myself in my family room. I was the only one home, but I can still see myself, praying and asking the Lord, please show me, I need your will, because I've been trying so many different things in my life and they weren't working, And I just really reached out in prayer and asked for him to guide me, what do you want me to do? I was 34 years old at the time and didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up, So about a week later, well, I'm getting ahead of the story a little bit because in the fall, I had went with my mom and aunt and my sister, and we'd went out to California to see some friends, and I would take walks to the beach, and we were close to Marina del Rey, and I saw a lot of homelessness around the public bathrooms. And, it'd be early in the morning, and in September, it's cold in that area. And I would give change to people, and talk to people. And a couple of the folks had some small children with them. And I had not seen that in Clinton County, Ohio. And it just really was pulled at my heartstrings. Like, how can we have homelessness in the United States of America? How is this happening? And And so that really, I talked to my aunt, my mom, and my sister while we were on the trip about it and said, I just don't understand why we have people sleeping on the beach or, on the streets, and really bothered me very, very much. And then it was the following February. My aunt knew I was looking for employment, and she worked at the city in the auditor's office, and she had heard Linda talking about, hey, we need another director. There had already been they were on the 7th director.
What year was that?
And that was 1994.
Okay.
February of 94, and it had opened in 88. And my aunt called me and said, hey, they've had 7 directors, but they need a new one. Do you, I know you're looking for a job. And that prayer that I'd said, back when we got back from that trip in September, I just could feel like this is my answer. And I went and interviewed, and Patricia Thomas was one of the people who interviewed me, Linda, and Darlene Myers. And there were quite a few people that were interviewing, but I felt blessed that they hired me. And I started March 9th of 1994.
So in the first 5 years, they went through 7 directors, and for the next 30 years, they had you.
Yeah.
That's
they got
crazy.
stuck with me.
No, that's awesome. It's like a good fit then, for sure.
Thank you.
So what were some of the more challenging parts of your 30-year career as the director of the homeless shelter?
Oh, boy.
How'd you overcome them? Yeah.
Yes, overcoming. There are so many. In the beginning, it was just trying to learn. There was so much to learn, and just trying to figure out how to find funding, and just knowing how to best help, because I had no idea, like I said, that we had an issue in Clinton County. And in the small rural areas, it's more of a hidden homelessness where people are sleeping in their cars or, in abandoned buildings or garages, couch surfing. It's not as in the bigger cities you might see, people on the streets. But back in 1994, it wasn't that way. And because I was very fortunate to have such a supportive network and family, I did not know what people experienced. I had been shielded from that, protected from knowing what people were going through. And so keeping my emotions separate and being able to work where I was being very effective and being able to help people the way they needed help, and meet people where they are, because what I might want for them and what I would expect from them isn't always where they're at. And so keeping the challenge for me has always been knowing that just because this is what I want for them, everything to be perfect and them to make all of these changes, that might not be where they're at. And so meeting people where they are was the biggest challenge for me then, and still, to this day, I struggled with, so it's just being able to do everything you can to help, but knowing that each person, and no two people have ever been the same in what their needs were or what brought them to needing shelter. Every situation can be different.
Yeah, I can see like a gut reaction to homelessness be like pull yourself up, get a job.
Yes.
But you don't understand like, oh, like I can get a job because I have a house or because I have clothing or I have support. But like there's some people might not have some of those things that you assume that they can have to do something how you would do it.
Exactly. And that's truly been one of my biggest challenges, because, I was a single mom when my daughter was born, and I had my mom, my daughter, my sister, my aunt, my grandma to help if someone else couldn't. So I could maintain jobs, because if my daughter got sick, somebody could watch her so I could go to work. I had a grandpa who was a mechanic who could fix my car if it broke down. And, so not everybody has those privileges, and seeing that and seeing the challenges that people face. And it has always been knowing how to meet them where they're at and doing whatever we can to help them overcome those challenges.
How have you seen homelessness change over 30 years? Has the cause of homelessness been different? Have their struggles been different? And how has the shelter kind of adjusted to meet those changes?
Yeah. Yes, I definitely think it has definitely changed. In many ways, back years and years ago, back in the 90s, we saw mostly single moms, with children. And although drugs and addictions have always been from the beginning an issue, I've seen it increase over the years, and that has been hard to watch because back you didn't see as much. It was mostly the struggle of maybe a spouse leaving, a mom having a spouse and then going down to one income and not being able to make ends meet. That was more of what we saw back when I first started at the shelter, or even two-parent families where one parent lost income. And then over the years, we've seen a lot of our single, unaccompanied adults with no children that are really needing shelter because of mental health. Maybe, they've got a mental health illness that has went undiagnosed and untreated, and they are unable to maintain full-time employment to be able to live independently. We've started seeing more of those folks going through those challenges over the years.
Have you been able to meet some of those needs? Obviously, they don't stay there forever. So what happens to those people who have mental illnesses and can't work?
Yeah.
How do they get help?
You know, we we have a lot of really good services in Clinton County for programs. That has definitely increased over the years because back, when I first started, we didn't have that support. And so I think we're very fortunate to have a network, including like the Mental Health and Recovery Services of Warren in Clinton County, who have been instrumental in helping provide services in the area. And that can help guide people. Some people come in that are already connected, but we do have people come in that aren't connected with a service provider, and being able to help them connect with that can make a huge difference and get them on the road to treatment. And there are more facilities, in-house facilities that are outside of Clinton County that if people are willing to follow through with that, it can make a huge difference in their life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember when we did the corn festival a few years ago, we tried to raise some money for some people. And I think there was someone we tried to give money for housing to, but they couldn't find it in the area. And they really struggled with the idea of going to I think it was Hillsboro to have housing.
Yes.
People are just resistant, it seems like, to moving out of their home county, which would be, it's reasonable. I guess their support system is here, whatever other reason they have, I guess.
Absolutely. We see that a lot, where people really, sometimes they might have kids in the school system, or they may have just family that are maybe not able to help live with them because of the lease that they have and being at risk of losing housing themselves, or numerous reasons, but just wanting to stay in the area they're familiar with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds hard.
Mhm.
What is one of the more proud accomplishments during your time as the director of the homeless shelter? It could be a story as well.
Yeah. I think like having people come back after they lived there and have overcame challenges, are housed, um, some employed, those are some of my best that just really fill my heart. At our soup fundraiser, no, it was at my retirement party back in November. I had a gentleman come up to me and handed me a check. Amber brought him to me. He'd lived there years ago, and he said, he said we had saved his life. I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
But, and he handed me a $500 check, and I just want you all to know, you made such a difference in my life.
Hmm.
So those stories are the things that always keep me going. And we've had numerous. We had a brother of a gentleman that had visited the shelter a few times over the years, and we get attached. They become like our family. We have a hard time. That's always been a hard thing separating, but you just love folks. And he was really sick, and Amber recognized that and insisted. He was resistant to going to get treatment. Didn't want to go to the hospital, and Amber insisted on it. And then his brother came the next day and thanked Amber for saving his life. And there's been a couple of other occasions that quite a few times people just came and thanked us for the changes that we helped them to make in their lives. And I think that is the most rewarding thing. There's no, like Amber said, there's no amount of money, that can make you feel good than to see someone turn their life around and do good. And we're blessed to see that a lot.
Yeah. It's cool to hear those stories because obviously people can see homelessness in Wilmington and they may be frustrated by it. But to know that there are people who have changed their lives because of the services that are provided to them is really cool to hear.
Yeah, we have a on our Facebook page, we have a Pay It Forward Pat. Pat was one of our, someone that we do consider family. And there's a story on there where he stayed with us for a couple of months. He was coming through town and had a medical emergency, ended up at the Clinton Memorial Hospital. The hospital called us after he was ready to be released and said, we have this gentleman that's not able to travel right now, but, he needs to be released from the hospital. And he came in, and from the day he came in, all he did was give back, cooking, doing so much for the shelter, repairing things. He saved us thousands of dollars in repairing washers and everything that would break down for houses, And so our food pantry is named after Pat's Food Pantry. And so many people have paid it forward in so many ways, but Pat's story stands out among the most. And if you have a chance, go in there and watch that video.
I think I remember you talking about that in the last podcast in more detail about his story. It was really crazy.
Yes. He would bring us ice cream, birthday cakes for our birthdays, or just randomly.
He owned a key to my house, and I would come back home from vacations, and my animals would have new toys and new contraptions, and I'm just like, what did you do?
A great friend that we miss dearly.
Absolutely.
Denise, how long have you worked with Amber?
It was 18 years. In September 18th, it was 18 years. Yes.
So, Amber, what's your professional background and how did you get connected with the homeless shelter?
So, as far as professional and dealing with homeless, I have zero.
18 years experience.
Yes. Most definitely. So actually I applied for the shelter job and I kind of forgot about it, but I have a niece, Adriana. She was born with Hurley syndrome, which is like a 1 in, I forget the odd chance that my sister would ever meet another partner with the same genes that we carry as family members. So my niece Adriana was simply amazing, a happy-go-lucky baby. I mean, she had spent the last 6 months of her life in the hospital being poked and prodded and always had a smile on her face. But the amount of people that really gave to my sister, supported her during that, really showed me, because she'd passed away 6 days before she turned 2. So it really showed me, like, you know what, I need to do something. I want to give back. And I got my phone call from Denise. It was Denise, Jeannie, and Diane, I believe, who's all interviewed me. And from that moment forward, like, I knew that this is where I needed to be. And I have been there and learning since. So every day is new. I love it. Nothing is repetitive other than our paperwork. There's nothing repetitive. Everybody's so different. Everybody's unique in their own way. And how you need to help them isn't how you just help the other person. You got to develop a program based off of their needs, where they're at. And, so I love that I'm not, okay, pass on.
Yeah.
Okay, pass on. I love that about this job. I absolutely love it.
So what was your starting role, and did it change until you're director now?
Oh yeah. Did I even have a hat when I first started? I don't know.
Did you have a title?
That's a good question.
So when I first started, I was just a part-time employee. I believe that I was assisting, and I can't remember her name right now, With the groceries, I would go to Bob and Carl's and do pickups. I ran to the city at that time because we were still doing bill paying through the city. And then I worked side by side with John Mitchell, getting my HMIS license, which stands for Homeless Management Information System. And from there, it's just climbed.
Oh, it was quick that I was like, you become the exec or the assistant director. It wasn't too long.
Yeah, it has definitely been a journey, and it's never stopped. So, yeah, I enjoy it. I absolutely enjoy it. Who knew that I would still be here 18 years later, working on 19 years now, but yeah, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Amber has always worn many hats at the shelter.
Yeah, you become plumbers.
Wow.
You become patch. You play Noah's Ark with duct tape.
Oh man.
Our adventures never end. If we made a book, people would probably still not believe us.
They would.
Happen.
We probably would never have to have another fundraiser if we sold the book.
That's awesome. We have an employee here who does sales for us, and she doesn't have a background in that at all, but she's just like a great person who like works her butt off. So sounds like that's what you just work your butt off.
Yeah. I mean, there's no stopping
because
you don't want to stop, and I haven't stopped yet. So.
Yeah. So you quickly became the assistant director.
Yes.
And then how did you, besides Denise like retiring, how were you chosen to be the director? Just because you were the assistant and made the most sense, or?
So the board talked to me and asked me if I'd be interested, and I was honored, to accept that. Because I still didn't know everything. I didn't wear her shoes.
She's been right. She knows more than. She knows a lot.
So I was ready for the next journey. I was ready to take it on and tackle the world, but I also knew that Denise would be right there, if I had any questions. So I knew she wasn't going far away. And I know where she lives at.
That's right.
So how has your role changed? What extra responsibilities do you have?
Oh gosh, I have turned extremely busier than I ever thought I would be. But it's actually a very busy grant right this second. So within my first 2 months, I have been preparing for board meetings alone. I did the annual report, which I had never done alone until this year. So now it's like, we were doing it together, and now I have a great team. I really, really, really do. Sydney took the assistant director position, and Renee Lewis took Sydney's position as access point coordinator. And the relationship that we had going prior is just a great relationship to keep going, and we each have each other's back. I'm trying not to shut my door yet, but we might have to get there because these grants are kind of crazy.
Oh, yeah. So, just heads down, getting them done.
Yeah. So we put in a couple ROIs. I can happily report that I just finalized everything for an extra $25,143 alone. So that is my first big accomplishment as a grant by myself since I took the director position. So we also submitted $10,000 grant application through the CARES Foundation, CareSource Foundation. So we will be submitting our Charlie Fisher Fund request. We did the legacy. Health first. Oh gosh,
is grant writing like a big part of your job? Is getting the funds to do everything? I guess
it would be nice. It'd be so nice because I don't know how she did this for so long. It'd be amazing not to have to worry about that. But
that's the role of the director. Yeah.
And we can't stop it. We can't let it go. We've got to keep going because our need for shelter is huge.
It is.
And it's growing, and our time span is growing too, from
people staying there longer. Yeah,
because of housing. But I know that I'll skip over if I don't stay on task with you.
Yes.
So what services does the homeless shelter provide today?
So we are still an emergency shelter. So we have staffing or somebody on duty 24 hours, 7 days a week. We have an on-call person each month. So if someone at midnight is calling the shelter just because the office admin people are not there, does not mean that they won't get shelter if we have it open. We change the hours, so we're not making anybody leave until 9 a.m. We are providing case management at least 3 times a week for everybody that is currently there that needs it, setting up services for them, allowing people from the community to come in and have private meetings with people. Our struggle still is housing, but any piece that we get, we share that with them every day. We do have a 9 p.m. curfew. We're doing the budgeting is like a big part because some people don't realize, well, this is a little bit foolish spending over here. So what can we do to, get better on track with this? So we will start everybody with a temporary budget when they first come in the door. And then as things are changing with them, we're doing another budget. And they're seeing, oh my gosh, look what I was doing right here to now. Look what I've saved. Look what's in my bank account. To give them more sustainability for them when they're ready to move out on their own. But we have definitely went from a 90-day stay to we're more like 4 to 5 months. Just because anybody with kids, like it's so hard and it's harder there is the McKinney Veto Act, which as long as a family is in shelter, the schools must provide transportation to keep children involved with their same school. So let's just say recently we had a mom that worked here, had originally came from courthouse, and her daughter really didn't want to switch schools. It was already enough emotionally, coming to a shelter because of circumstances. So with the McKinney Veto Act, the school had to provide. So they linked up with transportation from Wilmington City schools and got the child still to school every day where the parent didn't have to drive back and forth. So there's a lot of good things constantly happening. We have the donation center that is open 10 to noon, 7 days a week. You can come in, you can shower, you can do a little laundry, visit our food pantry, get clothing. Anybody in the community, we don't ask for income. You don't have to pay us anything. If you're in need of furniture, our furniture shed is open. You need it. That's what we're there for.
So if your shower goes out of your house, you can just come to the homeless shelter and take a shower?
Yeah, we've done that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've had quite a few. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about having to go to the gym sometimes, like my shower goes out or something.
Oh, you should just holler at us.
I should just come to the homeless shelter.
It's cleaned every
Hopefully
day.
it never happens. That's funny. What other agencies or service providers in town do you work with? Obviously, there's Sugar Tree Ministries and the Hope House also in the county.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's not one agency that we do not work with. I actually sit on the board with Family and Children First, which every organization, church, we're all there, all sharing information. And sometimes it's just a simple reminder of, hey, this is out there, which is a great refresher because sometimes we get so caught up into our everyday that something may not trigger us to think of, oh, well, you can go to community action and get help with food too if you can't go back over here and get your food right this second. So little reminders like that. I also am a board member of the policy council, and now I just think that I joined the governance. I don't know, I'm on another board too. So but it's nice to sit on the boards, just like going to the Wilmington Ministerial Association meetings with them. It's just the nice refreshers.
Yeah.
The nice we all communicate, we talk. We all are facing, some of the same issues like Carla and Lee, we'll get together and communicate. Sometimes if someone's not doing necessarily really good at our area, or if they came in under the influence of something, because of the children, because that becomes our priority at that point, we may ask them like, hey, I've talked to Lee, or hey, I've talked to Carla, depending male or female. This is where I want you to go tonight. And then I want you to come back tomorrow and we'll have a sit down conversation. And those are just, avenues that we need to keep open because in order to make this work, we have to work together.
Yeah. I've been involved with a few things. I'm like really proud that you guys all work together and constantly are talking and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to. I mean, yeah, absolutely. You can't shut alone. You can't do this alone.
Absolutely.
You all come at from different angles too, which is good.
Yes. Yes.
Can you talk about the Clinton County Coalition on Homelessness that got started a few years ago and where it's at today?
So that was started getting up and running back 2019, right before COVID hit.
Yes.
And actually, Tom Albanese was brought in from, I think the city had found him to do his...
Be our professional.
Yes.
He was our professional consultant.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
And, and I believe that with the start of the coalition, even brought more agencies that really needed.
Yeah.
We're all working on the same goal, but we were all trying to recreate a wheel at the same token. So with the coalition, with the starting of that, it has really connected all of us together more, developed ad hoc groups. And now those tables that were kind of all still working on the same thing have all kind of been combined now. Sydney Mertlin got that transitioned to a 501c3, which is huge. And now it's its own organization, can go after grants, which will be even better, because it was something that we couldn't continue to house or,
support
over.
financially.
Yes. We need to support our mission in general. So it's been a great organization. With it switching over, the board has just been meeting, but I believe by next month they plan to start doing the ad hoc group and different things. It's been a little bit of a struggle with them trying to find a location to have the meetings at, but I think that's all squared away now. So
I think it seems like people have different opinions on how to approach homelessness, but it's still good that there's a group dedicated to it.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are trying to bring people from different avenues together to talk.
Absolutely.
And get the funding for housing.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Any other goals or plans for the future for the shelter at the moment?
So, I actually just announced these at our board meeting on Wednesday. So, my goal is to bring back construction, which was tied into Cardboard City when that was happening. And the construction just helps our pantry. It helps the shelter in general. I mean, our food budget has been around just almost $200 every week right now, just supporting. We have 20, we were at 22. We've kind of whittled down. I think we're at 17 or 18 right this second, but it's expensive, providing just the basic needs for everybody. But construction will be a theme again. We don't have a theme or anything, and then people build was one of our themes. We had like springtime or something. So I think at the courthouse they had a frog that they built out of cans. Community Action did a butterfly. And then a team of us will go around to whoever participates and judge it. And then
is this a new thing or something that's been happened before?
No, it would happen. Oh, when was the first time?
Right. Back in 1997. I was the first one.
So it went on for a while, but then when COVID came out, AM Rotary overseeing Cardboard City and the construction.
Yes.
And then that program,
I think 2020 was the last year. They did not do Cardboard City because of the closeness in the boxes, but they did the construction in the fall of 2020, I believe, was the last time. So that's great.
Yes.
So does that raise money?
Just canned goods. But honestly, the food is as much as trying to raise money sometimes,
So they build a sculpture out of canned and then you take it apart and put it in the pantry?
Yes. And which will feed both, our houses and put stuff in the pantry in order to give out to the community as well.
That's fun.
Yes. Yeah. And then we want to do another poker run, which we had done one time. So I want to try and do that because I feel like that really hits a different avenue of people that are very supportive of shelters, but kind of get a bad name sometimes, as far as the biker clubs go. So we want to bring that again, but I'll open it to, you don't have to have a motorcycle to do it. You can drive your car, you can drive your truck, you can ride a bike if you wanted to, but that will bring money into the shelter. I want to do a Socktober event to bring, we're always in need of socks. So I feel like October is a good month to maybe start that before November, December, January, the colder months come in. Because the amount of people that we get that ask for socks a lot would be really surprising, but it's because their shoes have holes in them or, different things. So we want to do Socktober, and then a couple other things we're in the mix about yet, but we don't know yet. But also don't want to keep us so busy that we forget everything else that we please. So I think that's where I want to start off. That's where we're going to start off for this year.
It does sound like a fun way to get the community back and involved with the homeless shelter and the needs that you guys have.
Yes.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Did I hear a rumor that the soup fundraiser's being planned? Someone told me.
Oh, the soup fundraiser is next Friday.
I was going to say, I put it on my calendar. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I got to start
on my calendar,
reading.
Yeah. The soup fundraiser is next Friday.
Yeah, it is
and we have loads of raffle items already.
I love it.
We are ready. And then our next soup fundraiser, the date for that one, oh gosh, it's in November. Oh, man, we already booked it. November the 7th is the next month.
Try to always go there. It's a good time.
Yes. It'll be fun. And we actually have a clam chowder that will be made this time without bacon because of Lent. So trying to bring in, a couple other things to help out with the no meat.
Yeah. Is Fat Tuesday next week? Isn't that what it's called? It's a Catholic thing.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I don't know.
I think.
I never heard it. I'm not Catholic, so I never heard of that before. But it sounds super fun.
That's awesome.
Do you know about this?
Yeah, it's definitely called Fat Tuesday. But I don't know.
I think we just go crazy before Lent, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's on Tuesday next week?
I think it is Tuesday because then Ash Wednesday is next Wednesday. And then Lent starts Friday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you're right.
I sound really ignorant, but...
It's okay. It's all right.
Yeah. All right. So those are cool things. Let's transition quick into just some stigmas and rumors, things that have been going on in the community. So obviously, homelessness has been a hot topic recently, maybe conflating it with crime as well. But if you don't mind, so it's been the topic of city council for the past month or so. One of the things that city administration seems to be wanting to get done is anti-camping ordinances or just more ordinances against crime. I assume that you have opinions or thoughts on these things because you're involved with homelessness. So I guess as far as the anti-camping ordinances go, what is your thoughts on the effectiveness of those or how you've seen it in other communities or how it would translate here in Wilmington?
So it's such a toss.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that's really hard because as far as my standpoint goes, I know most of these people, and I know what they're fighting. I kind of revert back to Alan Ward, which was known as the guy that lived under the bridge. And my gosh, how long did Alan live in the woods and live under the bridge?
Years.
And that was never a problem. I don't really ever remember them shooing him out of there or shooing him away from the Speedway gas station.
Right.
People were constantly dropping off cans by the car wash or food by the car wash for him. So I kind of go back to when I first, started at the shelter and just knowing these things and why, and I question why is it such a big deal now, and I know that there's drugs and I know that there's all kinds of things, but, sometimes just like Alan was scared. If I understood him right, he was afraid. He self-sabotaged all the time. If he got a camper and he caught it on fire,
Yep.
You know, so he had a place to live, you know, but it was a choice that he made, and he was more comfortable living his lifestyle like that. And there's a lot of people, believe it or not, that are more comfortable living the off-grid lifestyle than what I think people understand.
Understand. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
you know, and I don't know if I might jump ahead here, but I will always revert back to housing first. And I know to a lot of people that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
But I promise you, studies have been done
Yes.
that if you put somebody in housing,
Hmm.
what's going to happen? They're going to thrive because they no longer have to worry about, I can't tell time.
Yeah.
I can't make it to this appointment because,
Mm.
well, I done forgot where I was supposed to be at.
Right.
You know, so a lot more dots are going to be connected when somebody's house because they no longer have to worry about where do I lay my head tonight.
Yeah.
You know, well, what's going to happen to me tomorrow night?
Mm.
What am I going to lose because I decided to stash it over here and it's all I've got left is my clothes and my birth certificate or my social security card. You know, I hid it under that bush and I thought I did really, really good about that,
Yeah.
but now I don't have that.
Yeah.
You know, but I believe once somebody's in housing, they can hold a job down.
Yeah.
Because they don't have to worry about where did I go, where am I eating,
Right.
where am I getting my clean clothes from,
Yeah.
where am I going to shower at. You know, they don't have to do that. And again, that's not for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, there are people that it's when it's their time, when they're ready. You know, some of it's not even drug use. A lot of it's just mental health too.
Yeah.
You know, prime example. Well, that'll be skipping ahead. I shouldn't do that.
I was going to comment just real quick because it seems like I was at City Council when Josh Slayball was reading the ordinance because he's part of the legislative committee, and it seemed like the ordinance required there to be a section of town for camping. Like in order to have this ordinance against camping, you had a section, a piece of the town for people to go to camp. And it just seems like for people who want this, it seems like it's very short-sighted because then it designates a spot for it,
For them to,
which they probably don't want that either,
Right.
you know? So it just seems kind of like, hey, we got this win on ordinance, but it was really a loss because now we have this spot in the city where it's for homelessness. The other thing I was going to say is I feel like people do have this like stigma against housing as the solution. And I think I have tended to think that way too, as like a conservative and as a business owner, you know,
Right.
you're just like, housing not the issue, get a job, you know?
Right.
But the statistics from both like homelessness, like there's a backlog of people that need housing that can get a voucher. And also like the businesses in town, like ATSG, it's like, what's the barrier for employment? It's housing for even people that aren't homeless here. And so on all sides of the spectrum, housing seems to be the issue. People just don't want to accept that as the solution.
Mhm.
It seems like.
I was
Yeah.
just talking to Amber this morning, and, you know, when I started back in 1994, we actually had more subsidized housing at that time, and it has not increased over the 31 years now, you know, where your rent's based on your income. And, you know, there were some units over by the college, which, you know, were subsidized back in the 90s, you know, and it was now for student, because it was bought by the college, and, you know, they needed that too for the student population to have dorms. And but since the 90s, we have not increased any in subsidized housing, and there are not as many landlords that will work with HUD vouchers. You know, we've heard over the years with our local head office that they've lost local landlords that will even accept the vouchers. So we've had a decline in housing over the 30 years, but yet we've had an increase in the need and more businesses coming into town where we have more people, you know, and we need that affordable housing.
Yeah.
Affordable is the I think the word, the key. Affordable.
Yes.
Because even though there's stuff, our folks, whether they're at our shelter or they're down the road, they can't afford it.
Yeah.
You know, on the average space pay right now, they can't afford, you know, a $1,200 unit plus pay electric, gas, and water, and it's
The market rate rent has increased dramatically, you know, over the last few years. That
it's almost on.
Yes, if you don't have a voucher and the landlord accepts it, you're paying $1,200 a month for a family with 2 or 3.
Right.
2 or 3 bedroom housing is going to cost you anywhere from, what is it now? I've 1,000 to 1,200 is kind of what it was going for, and even a sleeping room can be upward of
It's almost 800 for a
800
sleeping room,
a month, just one room.
Yeah.
which is more feasible for somebody. Because then
Yes,
they don't have to worry about anything. But when you get into the whole aspect of having a family,
yeah,
you're out of the water. And especially if you're a single mom with 5 children that we just had move out. So,
hmm
yeah.
Something else, I know you guys are not Sugar Tree Ministries, obviously, but city administration at a previous council meeting was wanting to declare Sugar Tree as a nuisance. I think there's a conflation of crime and homelessness, it seems like. What are your thoughts on that perception of, obviously you work with Sugar Tree, declaring them a nuisance? I mean, you guys were probably even brought into that brought into that accusation as well a little bit.
I it's not a nuisance. It's not. I wish that I could open more people's eyes and not be so blinded. I always try to invite people to come and see, and I know Lee has been really pushing the word out to go and visit and see. I like to think of there's a couple different things with this. Not everybody that's going down there or going around is homeless, you know. So to constantly refer to the people just because they're on the street or they may have a backpack doesn't mean that they're homeless. Or, is it really crimes that are happening, that their law is being called? And I say this because yesterday we had to have the police at the shelter. But, this individual was begging for help, begging for help. I mean, mentally, he was ready to commit suicide, but we have to I mean, the law had to be called in order for the intervention team to step in, so there's different reasons that I think everybody needs to be entertained to that happened or, reach out and, it's just not always the bad things, and I support
For why
Lee.
police get involved with
Yes.
you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe that just as well, just in general with talking with Lee about, things that have happened. It's not just because, I mean, there's some good logical things on what has happened. And I think it's sad that, the Sugar Tree does get pinged out because like us, if we're not at the shelter,
yeah,
we can't help something that happened while we're not there. So just because something happened there, it could be 2 people that just collided at the same token or was doing fine and then decided to get into a big argument and it led into something else. But I really do support their mission because they're touching a lot of people too. So, and
absolutely.
helping a lot.
But from the beginning, I mean, they've been so supportive of helping us. There's been times that, we're not able to transport people. And there's been so many times that somebody needed to get back to their destination. They got stranded in Wilmington or they've agreed to go to treatment and they're at the shelter that Lee and his team will transport people for us. And we've seen them impact. I've seen the changes of the people that they've touched so many lives, from being there to feed and minister to. I know on Sunday now they have somebody from one of our local churches that's there to do a church service. They provide so many services and do so much for so many people, and including us. And I know they work really close with Hope House. And they're, I just think I can't say enough of the good that they've done and continue to do. And so...
Yeah, it's unfortunate, the rumors that spread. And some rumors are just nutty. Like there was a rumor that Sugar Tree Ministries owned my business. And it's
wow.
where did that, who comes up with these rumors, man? This is crazy. But people believe them. So
Absolutely.
there's also always the talk about people being shipped into Wilmington or brought into Wilmington because of the services, and that organizations like yours get money by the more people that you serve. or things like that. So
Yeah.
No, unfortunately.
We would be rich then, right? One of the things working at the shelter, and I wish I had more statistics on it, which is maybe something we could work on later. But the amount of people that have come to us because of, like, back in the day, it used to be, ABX and DHL, and now it's because of Amazon, come to us because they came here for this job, show us all the documents, but they brought them in with nowhere to live. Or we've had people that were supposedly promised a place of living. I don't remember who it was. And then they went there to what they moved here for, and there was nothing. There was a lady one time that came in a U-Haul because she thought she had a place and had her job at Amazon. We've even had Bright Farms people that were working there and supposed to have a place. So it's just not us. Or if people get in trouble here in Clinton County, like major trouble, they get released from jail. And then they end up walking because our address is given, so they
And they
come to
have
us.
probation, so
Yeah.
they don't have a driver's license, so they have to stay in the area to go to probation, or they're going to end back up in jail. So we see that a lot,
Mhm.
I mean, there's different scenarios to everything.
Yeah.
And and sometimes the pictures that are taken, if people would take 2 more seconds to find out who
Yeah.
that person is,
Yeah.
you might realize they actually work with the agency. It's just, there's so many different things of why people end up here, or some of it is even, I met a girl or I met a guy and they decided to,
Yeah.
or people that take all of their money and give it to somebody because it's going to Coinbit. I mean, there's just different, I could say here, we probably
Human
go on.
story. So much. We're all human, and there's so many
There's
things.
just different scenarios.
Yeah.
So many that I wish everybody would take just a little bit more time. But I know what I want in my eyes is not the reality.
Yeah. I mean, I'm quick to make judgments too, but at least have the humility to be wrong and change your mind and then act constructively,
Right.
Absolutely.
We need more of that. Any other rumors that you've heard, or any issues in the community or city council? We covered a lot of them.
Yeah, I think so.
I think
Yeah.
so, yeah.
How do you think the public can better understand homelessness to help support long-term solutions?
Visit each of us.
Mm-hmm.
Talk with us. I mean, it's and I may not change somebody's mind. I can't make things change, but just be open-minded, love one another and really pay it forward. If you want to be part of the solution, let's all work together as a team and come up with the best solution, come up with different avenues that we could present, or someone that decides, what, I could fix this by just building something for somebody,
Yes. Putting some energy into the positive outcomes.
Yes. And not so much the negativity that just flows around. We have enough of that right now in this world that we live in. So,
how do you think that local government could best help nonprofits like you to address homelessness more effectively?
It
doesn't be
want to give us some more money?
Yeah.
Well, Amber's always had a great idea with the hotel thing, when back a few years ago. Tiny
Homes has been on my list for years. And I know that that's currently something that has been talked about a lot of different times, and kind of was in the works, but kind of got shut down at the same token. But
I feel like people might need to just understand it more and see how it looks, because I feel like it does kind of sound like a nutty idea a little bit to maybe the more conservative minded people. I don't want that frou-frou thing in this community or whatever. So, but if we could see more examples of it being nice, maybe change some more minds.
Yeah.
Because the idea is home ownership, right? Of these tiny homes.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it puts me in the mind of a habitat home.
For sure.
I mean, honestly, even if each person that signed up that could get a habitat home, or, you know what I mean, get a tiny home, would have to put in sweat hours,
Yeah.
kind of build it around the same concept
Yes.
of
Habitat's great.
a habitat home.
Mhm.
And with the goal of still, these people, like, there has to be guidelines. You got to have this amount of money. You got, different
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
And it could happen.
It's not just a slum.
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
nice.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I know Habitat has like a lot of success in the county,
Yes.
so
It's
that'd be great.
huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
I want to just end quickly here because I know you guys have another meeting to
Yeah.
get to. So what keeps you passionate about what you do?
Yeah. So one of my favorite things is I tell everybody, I've never walked a mile in your shoe, and you've never walked a mile in my shoes. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here to pass judgment, but my highest reward is those that pay it back, pay it forward. We just helped a veteran finally get into housing. She had been with us a couple other times, severely depressed, a lot of PTSD from serving and different things. And she finally got her place and got her keys, and now she's, she went from not talking to this quiet wall to opening up and speaking, to even calling the shelter one morning. She had jokes. So she said really quietly, she said, "What's your favorite scary movie?" And I looked at the caller ID and I was like, "Oh, girl, I don't have time for you this morning. It's too early for this." But she's been back and volunteering, and and that's a lot of people. It's just not one person. It is really the success stories that keep my heart going into this. Like, okay, I did it. What we do is not for the faint-hearted. It's not for the. It is. You wear your heart on your sleeve. Sometimes, I exhaust myself because I pour every ounce of me into somebody else. But I want them to know that they have support. They have someone that's loving. They have someone that's caring about them, and they want to help them.
Yeah.
Another thing, Cindy and Renee just brought back a cat during point in time night. So, but the cat has been an eye opener for a lot of people. I mean, we were hardcore with one of our gentlemen and couldn't break his ice cube, couldn't slit it yet.
Mhm.
And this cat, boom. And I was like, "Oh, you earned your spot here." So then I went out and bought him cat food and stuff. I'm like, "What am I doing?" But it opened a whole nother world. So yeah, I love what I do. I absolutely love it. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. So I'm almost at 30 years. So
Yeah. She was young when she started.
Still young.
And my kids have been raised at the shelter.
Her
with
oldest
me.
was
Yeah.
like 5.
Yeah,
She's 5.
My son was 6 months old when I
Yeah.
started, and he's now 19. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. What you guys do is harder than I think people
Mhm.
realize. I'm going back to my little interaction with the homeless shelter is the Corn Festival fundraiser and dealing with a couple of different people.
Right.
And I think I have ideas on how to solve their problem, but then you actually deal with it and you're like, and you guys deal with this every single day. Like, you guys are
Yeah,
amazing.
thank you.
'Cause it was hard
Thank
for just
you.
the weekends. Yeah.
Thank you.
People are very different
Yeah.
and it's not what we think it is.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you very
Absolutely.
much. I appreciate that.
So how can people best get in touch with you? They want to learn more, volunteer, donate, or get help.
Call me at the shelter. Stop by the shelter. I'm there. I'm still doing 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., but I'm also there in the evening or afterwards, or I'm there a lot. So you can call me anytime at the shelter. Reach out on Facebook if you need to. We're trying to really stay up on top of that so the community knows what's going on, trying to post what we do for an entire year. I think, that helps the community see actually what's going on, what happened throughout that year, being transparent about what is happening.
You guys are sharing like newsletters of stories now, right? Of success stories.
That's the coalition is.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. But we're going to always
Mhm.
take that and turn it into what the shelter should be doing too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if people need to get in touch with Denise, you don't need to get in touch with Denise. She's retired. Leave her alone. She's done her time.
Amber knows how to get me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, you can always reach out, and Amber knows where to find me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for taking the time and thanks for all you do in the community.
Thank you.
Thank
you very much.
Thank you so much.
Well, that's it for our podcast today, folks. I hope you enjoyed our interview with Denise Stryker and Amber Taylor. If you have more questions for them, please visit their website, give them a call, or stop by the homeless shelter to learn more. If I didn't ask the question that you had, or you would ask it in a different way, if they'll talk to us dorks, they will certainly talk with you as well, because after all, we are a community of empowered individuals. If you want to get in touch with Real Change Wilmington, you can reach us on our website, realchangewilmington.com, or on Facebook and Instagram. We also have a free community newspaper that goes out once a month. You can find it at Kroger's, Fiesta Veracruz, and Sam's Meats. We also send it to half of Wilmington every month. And if you want to help cover our print cost, promote positive news, and also your local business, event, or job posting, you can reach out to us to sponsor our paper. And just email advertise at realchangewilmington.com. With that, I'm your host, Dustin Pierce. Keep it real, Wilmington.